after the conference ended, or the overnight or whatever, and that was like super fun. So glad I'm back. Thanks. So today we're talking about sweating your assets, how to supercharge content marketing for SEO and lead generation. So a lot of people are talking about content marketing and what it means, how to use it, how to create ROI. I thought it'd be a good topic to get into. So let's see. I'm Eric T Tung. Feel free to live tweet or whatever. I think I've seen some really good tweets out of here, so keep that up. We got Becky up here to heckle me, is what she said she was going to do, so she'll keep me honest. I'm a full-time social media manager at BMC Software. Has anyone ever heard of BMC Software before? Before knowing me? No? Okay. Basically, we're a B2B enterprise software company, so think like mainframe, cloud computing, enterprise help desk, right? So your Outlook stops working, you have to go fill out a form online and have your IT people help you out. It's that kind of stuff. So the problem with that, though, is a lot of times that kind of stuff is kind of boring, right? You can't take a picture of it and put it on social and be like, hey, everyone like this picture. So I think, being at BMC has really been interesting when it comes to being on social. Since last year, I got ranked as the number 33 social media influencer on Forbes. So that was kind of cool. And this is my second year here at SMTULSA. Woo! So what are we talking about today? What is content and content marketing? I think there's a lot of people that have different ideas of what it is. Is it like everything you ever put out, or is it specifically when it relates to lead generation? So we'll talk about that. What are the different types of content? Along the same lines there, getting people to make your content. Like, you don't have enough time to do everything, right? How can you help? How can you get other people to help come in and help you create some content? Mapping content to your sales cycle, how you can provide content for each step in your sales cycle to help ease people to that next step, right? And assembling the content puzzle with PPC and SEO, and then finally how to sweat those assets and try and get different types of content from one place. So what is content marketing? Brian Carter, he's kind of an Facebook advertising, social media guy. He posted on Facebook, what's the difference between marketing and content marketing? Kind of like the difference between driving and people driving, or eating and food eating. So content marketing is just marketing, right? How can you market without putting content out there is basically what he's trying to say. If you look at Wikipedia, content marketing is any marketing that involves the creation and sharing of media and publishing content in order to acquire and retain customers. This information can be presented in a variety of formats: news, video, white papers, ebooks, infographics, case studies, how-to guides, question and answer articles, photos, and so on. So who in here does one of those, right? Hopefully it's everyone. I don't know why this lady up front doesn't do any, no. But what does the landscape out there look like, right? Like what is out there? What are other people doing? If you take a look at the history of the world, 90% of all the data ever created was created how long ago? Last 2 years, pretty close. So somewhere in between those was in the last 2 years. So we're not just talking about necessarily like, content from a marketing perspective. They're also talking about data from, your Amazon purchases, your Netflix activity, that kind of stuff. But it kind of speaks to the fact that there's a whole lot of just information out there in general. 15.5 hours of media is consumed per person per day. So we're just taking it in all the time. I think that's probably like, all those people on Reddit, like all day long at work, right? It's probably those guys. But seriously, think about it. How often does your phone go off when you're working? Or, do you see banner ads when you're clicking around online and stuff like that? You have media exposed to you like all the time, which means it's kind of hard to get in front of people for content marketing, right? How many blogs are there? 75 million WordPress blogs, 225 million Tumblr blogs, 500 million Blogger blogs. So you've got a lot of competition out there. Of course, 50% of that is cats and 20% is food. But other than that, there's a lot of people out there writing about stuff. when you ask what percentage of these people actually have a documented process for B2B marketers, it's 35%. 35% have a documented process for content marketing, which means like 2/3 of people out there basically either are kind of winging it as they go or have no idea what they're doing. So if you can get your content marketing piece down, you can be up in that top 30% of companies, basically. And businesses that publish at least 15 blog posts per month average 1,200 new leads per month. Can anyone use 1,200 leads for anything, right? I was at a conference in like a couple years ago. The social media person for HubSpot said that they get 45,000 inbound leads a month as a combination of their blog posts and their email marketing. I don't know who can like call like 45,000 people up and be like, hey, what are you interested in? But, you know, when you have that kind of volume, right, you just can't fail when it comes to creating leads. So what does that mean? There's a lot of content being produced out there, even if it is cats and food. You have, well, people consume a lot of media, right? And a lot of research shows how much it's trusted, that even, you know, when you put the content out there, when other people share it, that's a lot more trusted than anything that you put out there in terms of like advertising and that kind of stuff, right? So you get a little bit more, a closer relationship with your customer there. Businesses aren't effectively using content marketing in general. So, you know, if you can get out there, then you can really set yourself apart. And businesses that can get content marketing have seen a lot of results. So, first case study, river pools and spas. If you were here last year in Stacy Miller's breakout, she talked about this a little bit. In 2008, everyone know what happened, right? The big downturn. Economic downturns are not good for selling pools, it turns out. So he figured out in 2008, people just weren't buying pools from him. 4 people canceled $50,000 contracts on pools in one season, right? So he sits out and he's like, how can I get people that, all the people that want to buy pools, how can I get them over to find me, right? How can I get them to get to my website, download something, give me their info? And he figured out that content marketing was the way to go. He had an interview with the New York Times where he said he was, you know, like overdrawing on his credit card, trying to make payroll and all this stuff. Like it was like dire situation for him. And he went down and he figured out, he just asked himself, so I just started thinking more about the way that you use the internet. More of the time when I type in a search, I'm looking for an answer to a specific question. The problem is you don't get a lot of great search results because most businesses don't want to give you answers, they want to talk about their company. So I realized if I was willing to answer all these questions that people have, we might have a chance to pull this out. So he used to spend $250,000 a year on TV and radio advertising. He pooled all of that and then went into content marketing. He started writing blog posts about every single thing that you could about pools, right? Even some of the stuff that like they don't really want you to know. So, you know, what's the difference between a concrete and a fiberglass pool or a chlorine in the salt water? Why don't they give you, you know, like a quote up front when you just call them and say, hey, how much is the pool, right? So he writes about all these different things. And what are some of the results? If you search for how much does a fiberglass pool cost, he is the first 4 results on Google that pop up. Not only that, but Google excerpts his website up here and says, oh, well, it's about $5,000, $10,000 less, or a concrete pool is $5,000 to $10,000 less than a fiberglass pool, and that's pulled from one of his blog posts, right? So how awesome would it be to have, and he's in like Virginia and Maryland. I did the search from Houston. Why is he showing up in my like Google, right? So that's pretty awesome. He's not just a local content guy, you know, he's starting to reach out into the entire space of the internet. So also, Since then, he's now a top sales and marketing consultant and speaker. So he's actually over at Social Media Marketing World, and I've seen him speak a couple times. He's awesome. So how do you kind of put that together, right? You have to look at all the different types of content. So there's kind of short types of content, right? You've got tweets and Facebook posts and stuff like that, all the way up to your long content. Ebooks, white papers, but then you also have basic stuff and complex stuff, right? So when it comes to BMC software, we've got a lot of really, really technical products, right? This is stuff that goes in the back end, figures out when you have holes or vulnerabilities in your network or in your systems, and goes through and patches and that kind of stuff. So it's really technical stuff. But we also have stuff that's, like last year was the 50th year of the mainframe. It was the 50th anniversary. So we put together some infographics on how the Mustang is 50 years old too, and how much they've improved versus how much mainframes have improved. So, it's more like fun, like quirky stuff. So you need to think about like the entire environment, the entire ecosystem of content. So how do we think about it at BMC? We've got kind of 4 main chunks of content, and some of these may not apply to some of you, but number 1 is kind of SEO blog posts. We kind of divide up blog posts into 2 different areas. So we've got SEO and then thought leadership. So SEO is kind of the really basic stuff that people are asking for. Think about Marcus Sheridan there from River Pools, and how he's trying to answer these basic questions that people are asking, right? These aren't going to be questions that really set you out in the industry. No one's going to say, oh, you're the person that knows, like, I don't know, Facebook marketing because you wrote 5 blog posts on, 3 things that you can talk about on Facebook, right? Almost everyone's written something similar, but when you put those SEO blog posts out there, you get more of those organic reach over, right? But thought leadership is more interesting, so you can promote it on social, you can get your ideas out there, but people are less likely to search for that type of stuff, right? People aren't going to be like, what are the, I don't know, I put something on here. The power behind digital transformation was one of the ones that we did at BMC, which is kind of cool sounding, but no one's going to go on Google and search for the power of digital transformation, right? That just doesn't happen. So you have to kind of think of both different areas there. After that, we also have demand gen, like lead gen content as well. So for us, that's a lot of like analyst papers. So we'll pay an analyst firm to talk about how we compare to other groups and that kind of stuff. So you can put featured content out there that people want to download. And that can be something that you create too, right? So if you're in the consulting space, you can put together your own white paper on how to improve Twitter marketing or something. So you can do that kind of stuff as well. And finally, we have technical information. So product releases, all the little tiny bits of, here's all the new different features of our version versus our previous version. And that we put on our communities, which is our product forum. But that really helps to stoke up the current users, right? The people that are already part of your community, your current customers. Don't forget about those guys, because you need to keep them involved still too. So why so many types, right? They appeal to different crowds. SEO, you're trying to bring people in from a clicks perspective. Thought leadership, it helps to kind of look towards the future and shows how you can lead in the industry, right? So you've got those two different goals. Demand generation, in our industry, it's like those webinars and analyst reports, and that really kind of helps to seal that deal and get that person's info, right? The first 2 areas, they can just be kind of reading your blog posts and then say, hey, that's nice. But once you offer them some of that premium, really long form content, that's when you can, get them in as a lead. And then that technical product info is really just to help retain those current customers. And I guess bring in some new ones, but if you don't know what the old product was like, you probably, it doesn't make too much sense to figure out the new stuff. So how can you make so much content, right? Get other people to create content for you. Did I bring it with me? Maybe. So this is BMC Bear. We gave out like 500 of them in our user conference. So this is last October at the Swan and Dolphin Resort at Disney World. And I mean, he's cute, right? Everyone loves him. So what happened was, so this is our first user conference in like 7 years. So it's you know, everyone's watching us. You know, obviously customers, employees, even analysts in the area, they're all like, how's this going to turn out? So we put these bears out on everyone's chairs the first morning. And all of a sudden, we see this post from BMC Engage Bear. Yep, this is the place, hashtag BMC Engage. And there's only 3 people on the social media team, so it's really quick to be like, hey, did you do this? No, I didn't do it. Did you do it? No. So we had no idea who put this Twitter handle together, right? So who was tweeting? So BMC Engage is our official conference Twitter handle. We go, hey, got a few minutes for an interview today? Mostly because we just wanted to figure out who this guy was, but also because, you know, we wanted to feature him in a video. That'd be kind of cool. So we finally figured out it was one of our customers who had set up the account, started taking pictures, was tweeting from their voice, right? So he even had like his own persona and everything. And we interviewed him on, you know, on video and uploaded it to YouTube. So it was really awesome. Like, he's just one of our Remedy help desk platform users, right? So that's awesome. But he's continued to tweet since then. So what do we got? My first BMC Engage session. This is awesome. Making sure my database is optimized. A nice guy gave me this gold medal award while I was walking around. It's because I'm awesome. The little button says WWRUG. It's the Worldwide Remedy User Group. So it's all like kind of, it's our software user group that all gets in. So it's very like internal, very insider type. Like he knows all the little like jokes and all that kind of stuff going on. You know, Dell alliances at BMC Engage have some cool server hardware. So they're even mentioning, he's even mentioning like partners at the conference, right? How can you do better than that? And finally, Carfax is one of our customers. I got a little weak in the knees meeting my first celebrity at BMC Engage. So Carfax is a totally cool guy. And since then, like he made this Christmas getup for him and everything, and he did like a little holiday card video. And but the cool part is, because there's so many of them out there, there's like 300, 400, 500 bears out there, people will send in pictures of him traveling. So he's been at like the Eiffel Tower, he's been at Big Ben, he's been at the Sydney Harbor Bridge. I got him a couple weeks ago at South by. He's like, wow, these lines really are long, you know? So like, get people to create content for you, right? When I was at South by, Verizon had me come in and do some influencer stuff with them. They started a campaign called ATX Unite. So what they wanted to do is have something that gave back to people in Austin, right? So you have this huge conference that hundreds of thousands of people come into town for. If you're in Austin, right, you can't get anywhere. You can't go to your local coffee shop. You can't drive down the street, right? You're pretty much like barricaded in your house. What can you do that kind of gives back to the community? And it just so happens that, you know, AT&T is kind of the big company down there. So they created this contest to kind of spread cheer within Austin using the hashtag ATX Unite. So has anyone ever heard of Franklin Barbecue in Austin? Has anyone ever had it? It's like, they have like the best brisket. Yeah, brisket and ribs, they're like amazing. I thought it was like, what? Starting some local stuff going on here. I didn't think it was like, I was like, I don't know, I didn't like believe the hype at first, but it was pretty cool. So they started this thing where Franklin, if you don't know, they started out as a food truck. Well, they started out like doing weekend barbecues with their friends, right? And they're like, hey, you should totally sell this stuff. So they did a food truck, and then they have like a restaurant now. The average wait time is 2 hours and more sometimes. So people will line up at 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning hoping they can get lunch there that day, right?
Is he from Oklahoma?
I don't know where he's from. He's from Austin? Okay. But anyway, about this campaign, at least there aren't any like Tennessee and St. Louis people here, right? It can get all nasty there. But so they actually, Franklin's is closed on Mondays. Verizon went to them and said, hey, we want you to open and just have an exclusive party for people that we invite in, right? No lines, just people from Austin. You have to show up with your ID and say, hey, here's my Austin address on my driver's license. So what happens when you do stuff like that? Like, people talk about you. They put stuff on your Facebook page. They tweet at you, right? And all of a sudden, you have all this content you can tap into, right? So this girl's like, thanks to Verizon Wireless for brightening up my dreary day and bringing me a new Samsung Galaxy Tab 5. Can you imagine like sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm kind of bored today. Okay, here, have an iPad or whatever, right? So shout out to Verizon Wireless for lunch for Austin locals. So, you know, they went and bought out some food trucks and stuff. We have, this girl was in the hospital for a couple days and tweeted Verizon, and they brought her some flowers and some stuff. So she's like, hey, thanks so much, you know. And then they also brought some lunch to the staff at the Children's Hospital in Austin. So it was really kind of, hey, we're here, we're part of the community. But as a side effect of that, a byproduct of that, you get awesome photos, you get awesome mentions, and so on. So who is part of a guest blogger program or has one? Right? We're starting to get that set up at BMC. But you know, it's great for creating additional content because you can recognize experts in your space and you also get some great SEO out of it. So right now we're working with a group called Movable Media out of Connecticut, and they actually find influencers in your space and connect you up. So we're working with them to try and get some of those kind of SEO types of content in there. And you can pay someone to guest blog for you if you want to. It really helps to fill that space in, right? Because most of the people that we work with that work for BMC don't want to be like, here are the ABCs of how to do this, right? They want to do the forward thinking, like, here's some awesome, crazy theoretical stuff that's going to come out in the future. They don't want to talk about the basic stuff. So that helps us kind of fill in that space there. I got to work with Salesforce on their guest blogging program. Don't look too close because I haven't blogged for them since like 2013. But I love what they do because they really make you feel special. So if you go out to Dreamforce, this is the one on the left is from Dreamforce this year, and the one on the right is Ann Handley getting interviewed at a party of Dreamforce 2 years ago. But they have a special guest blogger party that you can come to, and you get to meet all these other people that are like superstars in social and business and sales and all that kind of stuff, right? So you want to bring them in and really just kind of make them feel special. Also, one way to get good content, in addition to what Verizon did there, is just do amazing customer service. So whenever you're filling out one of these hotel forms, right, it's like, do you have any special requests? You know, quiet room, early check-in, that kind of stuff, right? But at the bottom, they always have this section that says comments. So I put something crazy in there just to see if they'll do it. So I was at the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego like yesterday. So I put in here, I like pickles. Can I get a picture of a pickle? And everyone loves chocolate, so maybe just a little bit to gnaw on. That'd be great, thanks. And I want to see, like, are they reading these? Are they going to do anything for you? Do they think I'm crazy? Are they going to cancel my reservation? So what happened? They actually like delivered. So, dear Eric Tung, welcome. When we were looking over your reservation, we noticed that you were requesting a picture of a pickle and a piece of chocolate to enjoy. Here at the Manchester Grand Hyatt San Diego, we want to make sure your needs aren't just met, they are exceeded. Have fun coloring in this pickle. So they actually gave me crayons, right? They made an activity out of it. And enjoy your time at Social Media Marketing World Conference 2015. Let us know if you need anything else. So I was like, no way, this is crazy, right? Like, people actually went through that and how much did that cost them? Like 50 cents for a Snickers bar? And I tweeted this. What happened? We got 129 retweets, 185 favorites, and about 5,000 impressions, and like 25 different comments on it. Hysterical, awesome, now I want a picture of a pickle, smart move, Hyatt, that's a brand that's on top of it. So, there's a huge amount of exposure because they spent 50 cents to buy a Snickers bar, right? But in today's world, kind of being treated like crap is kind of the standard, right? Think about Jerry Seinfeld going to get his car rental, The important part of making the reservation is holding the reservation, right? And you kind of expect to show up and not have a car. You're surprised when it works and you end up in the car, but you're even more surprised when they upgrade you, right? Or when they do something special for you, or when they're like, hey, we know it's your anniversary, welcome to the city, have some fun, right? So go ahead, surprise and delight and really beat your customers' expectations, and that will help you get a lot of content in the back end. Yes, I colored the pickle. Thank you. I've been working on that skill for a long time. Can you endorse me on LinkedIn for it? Little plug, my LinkedIn, my presentation, my next presentation's on LinkedIn. I think it's the 4 something time frame. So check that out too. So once you get them to create content, feature on your social channels or on your blog, right? So whether it's stuff like the pictures and the tweets and that kind of stuff, or if it's blog posts, guest posts, all that kind of stuff, you can feature that. Collect it, repurpose it, and then study it. Figure out what worked. What has gotten people to retweet you, what has, is it adding better pictures, or is it creating a link or something? So study it and make sure you can use that. Next step to that, mapping content to your sales cycle. Does anyone know what map this is, by the way? Any geeks out there? Middle Earth, wow! You guys are totally geeky, awesome. You guys rock, okay. So this part's going to be like a little exercise. So pull out your paper, grab your pen. First part of mapping your content to your sales cycle is figure out who your customer personas are. Think about those customer profiles. Give them names. Kind of talk about who they are, what do they look like, what motivates them. So for us, we have, from BMC Software, we've got like a CIO, right? He's the big guy at the top. You've got maybe like a manager of IT, and then like an administrator, the person that actually installs it and makes sure it's running, right? So what the CIO is responsible for is making sure that all the stuff runs smoothly and he's within budget, right? But the administrator, he's like, hey, I just want it to work well, right? I want it to be easy to use. So you've got different, pieces that you're trying to answer at the same time. Also, use photos to give this person a face, and then create like 3 to 5 personas, somewhere in that range. When I was at BMC, we had each line of business. We had like all the marketing people get together, and we did this big persona workshop. Each of our 5 lines of business came up with 5 to 7 personas, and we ended up with like 65 personas. Don't do that. It makes it a whole lot more difficult. So do like 3 to 5 personas across the entire company. Here's one sample from Content Marketing Institute. So persona profile for busy mom. What's her age range? Key responsibilities, major concerns. So jot out a few of your personas real quick. Like what's their job title, what's their description. One thing is like, I don't know any busy mom that looks like this, right? Unless she's on some really good stuff. Like I don't think you're gonna be like, hey, right? So maybe pick a different picture, but still, the idea is like still valid, right? Here's another one I found online. Sample Sally. She is the head of human resources, worked at the same company for 10 years, married with 2 children, 10 and 8, so really getting detailed here. Demographics, 30 to 35, skews female. Hopefully she skews female, I don't know. Dual household income, $140,000. So, try and figure out like what this person looks like in your world. Everyone got that kind of sketch out a little bit? Now, find your sales cycle. Figure out step by step, how you move people through the sales cycle. Is it prospect, lead, customer, retention? Over here we've got awareness, consideration, purchase, service, loyalty. You know, if you have a sales group, then there's probably some kind of sales cycle that's already developed out there for you. You can just kind of map it to that. Now, once you have both of these put together, mash them together. Put your sales cycle across the top, and then your personas down the side. So here for BMC, we'd have something like awareness, consideration, purchase, service, loyalty. And the downside, we have CIO, IT manager, and IT user, or the administrator. All right, so you have this nice little matrix of your personas and your sales cycle. Finally, fill out each square with what that person is asking at that point in the sales cycle. So our CIO, he's going to be probably over here in the purchase, right? He's not going to be the first person that says, hey, we really need to change our software. We need to make something more efficient, right? He's going to be over here in the approval process. So he's going to say, like, what are the ROI? Or what, you know, what's the ROI? What's the cost? Your IT manager is probably going to kick it off. Like, how can I make our process easier? You know, what am I looking for that can do that, right? So sketch that out. Figure out all these different questions along your sales cycle. And put multiple questions in there. If you have like 8 questions, that's fine. Put them all in there. So some of ours might be IT manager awareness. How can I make this easier? Also find out what channels you would want to answer that in, right? Your CIO is probably not following like your Snapchat feed, okay? So figure out, is your CIO going to maybe read a white paper? That's possible. Listen to a podcast? Maybe. You know, see a LinkedIn post? Probably, right? So figure out what channels each of those questions is best answered on. IT manager consideration. What options are there? Okay, so we haven't, that probably makes sense if we get an infographic, but we don't have one, so we need to get an infographic, right? So use this to identify spots in your content strategy right now that you don't have something for, and also map what you already do have in blog posts and content out on there as well. So if you have like awesome blog posts like Marcus from the pool company, if you already have like 50 blog posts on something, make sure you put them all out there so you can remember what step you're at in the sales cycle. And then like CIO purchasing, what are the costs and ROI? Maybe that makes sense if we have like a customer video, right, or a customer paper, and then make sure we have those links and figure that out. So how does this all work, right? There's research out there that shows if you are involved in social and have this type of process set up, that you can decrease your sales cycle length like 40%, right? So people already know, you know, I downloaded, or I saw the customer paper, blog post, then I researched some, best practices and how to implement it. I called the salespeople, and then I became a customer. You already have like every single step lined up, so it makes it a whole lot easier and a lot faster to get people through that sales cycle. So SEO, like if you don't know what questions people are asking, Google can help you out, right? So if you go into Google, Google suggests. So if you go into Google and just type something, right? Sometimes it comes up with pretty idiotic answers. But like, how do fiberglass pools, and it actually fills it in for you. How much do fiberglass pools cost? How long do fiberglass pools last? How deep can fiberglass pools be? And how long does fiberglass pool last? So anyway, those two are the same. But the idea being that people are searching for these, and Google is suggesting people search for these. So if you sell fiberglass pools and you don't have a blog post with one of these titles, you're missing out on a lot, right? So go through, figure out some of your Google suggests topics and fill those out. Also, see what pages get the most clicks on your blog. Go through, and on your website, right? Go through your analytics, see what topics people are interested in. For us, you know, there's a lot more people talking about mainframe, or like help desk and cloud computing than people talk about mainframe, right? So skew your blog posts and your content to kind of highlight those areas for you. Use Google Suggest, use Google Keyword Tool. Keyword tool is cool if you do any like PPC, right? You can put in a couple words and it tells you all the different combinations of keywords that Google has for that. So you can be like, I want to talk about social media. What's going on in social media? And it'll tell you like Facebook marketing and SEO and content marketing and all that kind of stuff. So go through that keyword list, see what makes sense to kind of pair together into a blog post, and then that can help you make a really awesome SEO post. So we've got, for example, we've got IT service management, which is ITSM in the industry. We've also got the IT infrastructure library, which is like a standard that help desk people use. But if you're new in the space, you probably don't know too much about like what they are, how they're different, or can you have both? So we came out with a blog post a couple weeks ago that was, or last week, that was like ITSM versus ITEL, what's the difference? When you do that, like people are searching for ITSM or ITIL, and especially if they put them right next to each other, we're hoping that blog post will show up, right? And you want a keyword pack towards the front of your title too. So you don't want to say, what's going on in the awesome world of social media, right? You want to be like, social media, what's going on now and into the future. So it helps a little bit on the SEO side. So how do you put this all together? Now you've got all these different pieces, right? You've got some lead gen stuff, you've got some kind of prospecting, you've got different social posts, you've got maybe ebooks and white papers, videos. How do you put it all together so that they can funnel in and become leads, right? So here is a slide that I brought to my interview at BMC Software 2.5 years ago. And it still remains true, basically, except for we have a new logo now. But basically, in the middle, we've got our BMC communities, which is our blog. And then we take those posts from the blog and we put them on social, right? So we were like, hey, check out our new blog post on cloud computing or something. When you are on social, you're going to click on that link and get back to the blog, right? When you do that, you can actually tag someone so that if they don't sign up for something, they'll get retargeted through Google. Has anyone done that? Like, you go to Amazon, you go to eBay, you go to Overstock, and you're like, hey, these are cute shoes. And you put them in your shopping bag, and you don't buy them, and then they like stalk you for like 2 weeks, like, come back and buy these shoes now, right? You can do that with your own content across the Google AdWords platform, right, with your own stuff. So obviously you want to make it like lighter than probably buy these shoes now, but you can follow them around. Or you have we've got mainstream news that we share on social too. The more content we share on social, the more awareness we have, the more likely they're going to search for us on some of the search engines, right? Although no one really uses Bing and Yahoo. That's just there for fun. Once they search for us on the search engines, they probably end up back over here on one of our landing pages or on the website. And what happens there, right? Then they get back into this retargeting. Or they can go directly to a landing page where it says, hey, we've got some awesome stuff to give you. All you have to do is fill out a form, and you can have it. So a little bit more on the entry points, basically, we just talked about. You got the search engines, communities, social, and it all just kind of mixes in there. PPC helps to guide that a little bit, too. Mid-funnel. So you've got users clicking to the blog and the website, and you can tag them for retargeting. Make sure you offer them something useful, right? A lot of people are like, hey, sign up for my newsletter. Give us your email. And it's like, no one says why you should sign up for your newsletter or how often you're going to get emails. Or you're going to give us like 2 emails a day, because that would really suck. But there are other people that will say, hey, we provide targeted sales tips every other week. Sign up here. All right, so that makes it a lot more likely that you're going to sign up for something like that. And securing the lead, offer something of high value, probably something long form, right? Ebook, webinar, recording, all that kind of stuff is always great. But what does your blog look like? Check this out. So over here on the left, we have a blog from Salesforce. They've got 5 different places you can sign up for something, right? Check out this ebook, sign up for a newsletter. This is another ebook. I think that's the same ebook, but I mean, like, it's kind of spread out. I chunked out a little bit of the text in here. This guy has no head. He actually does, but I just kind of cut it out so you can see the bottom of the page. But there's, tons and tons of different ways that they're saying, hey, sign up for something, right? And that way you're in their system. Same thing with HubSpot, right? We talked about them, 45,000 inbound leads a month. Right at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways to sign up for something on their website, or on their blog anyway, right? And then I was trying to make a point to my management. Here's BMC, we've got one, right? So how can we have more stuff, create more ebooks, more webinars, and more helpful information that people are going to want to download? One part of that too, one of the things that we've done at one of my other companies, it's called progressive profiling. Anyone heard of that? Basically the idea is, at BMC, one of our forms used to be like 15 fields long, right? Give us your email, your phone number, like your social security number, right? Yeah, exactly. No one's going to fill out 15 fields to like download a 3-page white paper that you're going to sell them stuff anyway, right? So the last company I worked at was called Insperity. When you go download your ebook at first, it says first name, last name, email address. That's it. Okay, cool. That's easy enough, right? Then you go download something else. Okay, well now we want your company name, number of employees, and your role there. Okay, that's still easy, right? Phone number, zip code, industry, and what's your biggest HR challenge? After you're done with that, they just give you a little download link every time. So once you're done filling it out, they know who you are, then you don't have to fill that link or that form out anymore. And so that makes it a lot easier, and it's also good for identifying who your top leads are, I think, right? If someone's downloaded like 15 white papers from your website, you want to know who that person is, right? If they've looked at one blog post, or they've maybe downloaded one thing, not so much, right? Also, make your asset appealing. That sounded worse than I expected it to sound. But make it look nice, design it, right? Put it in a nice PDF, and and it actually extends it out too, right? So if you're like, I don't know how to fill a 15 or 20-page white paper, that's really only like 6 or 7 pages of content, and then like half-page like block quotes and like infographics and stuff like that. If you design it really well, it's going to be a lot of content and be highly visual, and it's not going to take you as much time to write, right? So sweating your assets. How can you take, is that too gross for being this early in the morning? I heard there's still people out without power. Anyone? No? Okay. But anyway, sweating your assets. So this is like how you can create like one piece of content that becomes 20 different pieces of content afterwards, right? One of the things that we find that's really hard is people think of all these different things, but they never tie them together, right? There's no unifying theme. There's no like overall campaign that just ties everything together. So how do you do that? I think it's best when you like create a long form piece, right? So you have your post, your ebook, your white paper, aim for like 10 or 20 pages, right? Something that's going to be, have a lot of research, a lot of content, and like original surveys do really well here. So if you want to, be recognized as like a social media person in Tulsa, you might survey 100 business owners on what they think about social media in Tulsa, right? Are they in it? Are they planning on being in it? Do they spend money on it? Do they even know what it is, right? So once you get all that info, you go in, you make some nice graphs, and you publish your stuff, right? And all of a sudden, you have a whole lot of different pieces that you can cut up off of that. Now there's going to be like 5 like social media Tulsa surveys out there, huh? But like now you can cut it up and have lots of good content for sharing as it goes out, right? So it's not like one big thing and that's it, but you have all these little drips. I guess that's where it comes from, right? You have all these little drips of content that come off of that. So if you have your ebook, it might be using social media for conferences. Chapter 1, Twitter for conferences. Chapter 2, Facebook for conferences. Chapter 3, Instagramming conferences. But you take your ebook, and then you make each one of those a blog post, right? You want to change it up a little bit so it looks different. But if they just read 200 or 300 or 400 words on using Twitter for conferences, they probably want to download the whole ebook of how to use social media for conferences, right? So you have this big button at the bottom that says, you just read for 20 minutes on how to use Twitter for conferences. Now download the entire ebook and get the whole picture, right? How can anyone not download that, right? Instant lead right there. Also, it saves you time. Does anyone have too much time in their day? Right? So cutting up an ebook into smaller posts give you like 75%, will save you at least 75% compared to like writing blog posts on a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So, and it's that logical progression. Once you read that blog post on something, you want to get that whole ebook to round that out. But that's not it. You can use soundbites from your ebooks or blog posts, create quote graphics. Did you do video interviews? Maybe you can interview people on what they think about social media in Tulsa. And I think industry surveys are gold for sweating content because there's so many different ways that you can cut data and extrapolate information and publish stuff. So I think that's awesome. So one survey can become an ebook, like a SlideShare post, 5 blog posts, 5 or 7 infographics, 2 to 5 video interviews, and maybe 15, 20 or more social posts, right? So all this can come from one place. You don't have to say, I need to write a Facebook post today. Okay, now I'm done with that. Now I'm going to go write a blog post. Okay, and now I'm going to go, like, that is what I feel like I'm doing half the time, right? It's not, let's go look at the bigger picture, up-level that thought, right? Up-level that idea, and then have more stuff come off of that. And then that you create that lead generation machine, get good SEO, and you can get more out of your content yourself and make it easier on yourself. How do you measure this? Check out BuzzSumo. Anyone use BuzzSumo? Yeah? You can see your most shared post on BuzzSumo by entering your blog URL. And it'll show you. So for BMC software, IT Best Practices Assessment for 2015 was our most shared post from our blog, 1,200 Facebook shares, 1,400 shares in total, right? So if you take a look at this, it kind of gives you a good idea of what you should write that ebook on, right? Especially if your top 2 or 3 topics happen to be around the same topic. So take a look at that. BuzzSumo.com, they have a free version. Take a look at your analytics. Figure out what days, these are my sad WordPress stats. I'm at like 25, 30 views a day. But that's mostly because I don't blog. I need to blog a little bit more. But take a look at when you do have those peaks and what people are looking at on those days. Figure out what topics people want more information on. I think way too often you have a lot of people that are just like, especially like small business owners sometimes, they're like, hey, let's write about this because I really want to get this idea out. And you're like, yeah, no one's going to search for, I don't know, telemarketing for aerospace sales on Twitter. Or, it's like, let's sit down and figure out what the actual numbers say about what people are clicking on. Set up funnels. Does anyone not have Google sales funnels set up? Okay, everyone does. Great. I can skip this one. No, but go through your analytics, right? And Google can tag each step of your process and figure out what pages people are going on before they check out or sign up for a newsletter or turn into a lead, right? So you want to check this out and figure out where are people dropping out in the process. Do you have too many pages to your forms? Do you need to go through and refine that? So once you can do that, here's another quote from Marcus. Because I have analytics, so far to this day, I have been able to track a minimum of $1.7 million in sales to the one article about fiberglass pool costs, right? If someone paid you $1.7 million to write a blog post, Would you do that, right? So keep doing that, because that's how it's going to work. So let's review. Tap into different types of content to help with different goals, right? You've got your SEO, you've got your lead gen, you've got your thought leadership, and like your technical slash customer retention, right? Figure out where those different types of content are. Get other people to create content for you through great customer service, right? Don't just give them crap. Make sure you stand out there. Find your personas, map them to your sales cycle, and supercharge your content marketing from that perspective. If they have, and as an added bonus, if you have on that content a link to the next question that you have on that matrix, it'll help people get through that step faster, right? So it's like, hey, we just answered your question about features. Now sign up for a free consultation or a demo or a trial offer, right? So make sure you have all your little buttons down there at the bottom to get them to that next step in your sales cycle. Add in your PPC retargeting, get them out there if you want to. I used to work with a really awesome PPC guy that said, if you run PPC, you need to have PPC on your own brand name, because otherwise everyone else's ads will show up before yours, and you need to run retargeting if you do anything else, or before you do anything else. So he was a huge retargeting fan. And it's really awesome when you retarget like off of competitors' keywords and stuff, because occasionally like their management will see all of your like banners all over their website, or all over the internet when they're searching. So that's kind of cool too. Use your assets in every possible way, creating a web of content around each question or and your personas in your sales cycle. So you have bunches of content out there that answer all those questions in that sales matrix, so that there's no reason why someone wouldn't be able to just read all that stuff and say, hey, I want to be a customer, right? And analyze and measure and try and figure out where you can improve. Finally, I just added this like last night because, so I am periscoping. I thought I'd be meerkatting. I did my first periscope yesterday. So I've been playing around with it a little bit and hanging out with some of the, like 2 or 3 of the people on the leaderboard for Meerkat. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'm good too. So, any questions? Or are we doing questions? I don't know. And to get even more info on lead gen and content, Dan has got a session next session, right? Do we have a break or something? Barely a break? Oh wait, question.
I would assume that you don't know what Meerkat is, so maybe you can go into that a little
Okay, sure. So Meerkat came out like a month ago, and it was a really cool app that you could stream video, and at the same time, people could communicate back with you. So they could type into a little content panel, and that would appear on your Meerkat video. So it was awesome for people that were just wanting to kind of live stream, whether it's conferences or just kind of walking around or taking Q&A. But you could, like there's a couple people that just walked around South by on Meerkat and taking questions like, hey, what do you guys want to see? Oh, you want to see Samsung? Let's go check out their booth. I got questions on this product, right? And when it first came out, it was really cool because they had full access to the Twitter API. So when you signed up, everyone that you followed and everyone that followed you was mirrored in Meerkat if they were on Meerkat, right? But that got cut off. So if you didn't sign up in the first 2 weeks, then that didn't happen. You had to go manually follow people, and you didn't necessarily get that huge number of followers. So 2 of the guys on the leaderboard are Carlos Gill, who just started at LinkedIn, and Brian Fanzo, he's iSocial Fans on Twitter. The 3 of us were hanging out at Social Media Marketing World, all 3 meerkatting at the same time from like, in the same group. So we were like trying to break Meerkat a little bit by like meerkatting each other's phone screens. We're like, is there going to be like a wormhole or something that gets created if you? But anyway, Periscope came out yesterday morning and is owned by Twitter. So you're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? So a lot of people don't know what's going to happen. But basically, you know, there's a few different use cases I've seen out there that have been pretty cool. Most people I've seen just do kind of the, you know, hey, I'm taking questions, or I have this idea, or something made me think of something. Guy Kawasaki's on pretty often, and he's done, like, he was hanging out at the Monster, like, headphones office. So he was walking through, talking about some of their products and getting a tour. He also apparently plays hockey, so he walked through, like, where he gets ready for hockey and stuff like that. There's a pizza place in Toronto that will just Meerkat them making pizzas live. So, you know, just kind of like a little stationary webcam, which is kind of cool. You've got people that do like conferences, and we'll stream that so you can get extra questions or feedback. And then like Jimmy Fallon will do his monologue practices on Meerkat. And it's really crazy because you'll see like 2,000 people all of a sudden jump on Meerkat. And there's only like, last I heard there was like 250,000 people on Meerkat. So 1% of everyone on Meerkat is watching Jimmy Fallon do his monologue practice. Al Roker was Meerkatting in between segments. So they would have like a 2-minute, 3-minute taped segment go on, and he would Meerkat them just chatting in between, right? So I don't know. I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how it ends up. I was thinking about entirely replacing my LinkedIn presentation with a Meerkat presentation instead, but I wasn't sure how Cheryl would take that. So I just kind of added it in at the end of this one.
So you play with both Meerkat and Periscope?
Yeah.
So are there differences? What do you like most about one or the other? Is Periscope available on Android?
Nothing. I don't think anything's available on Android. From that perspective. And yesterday, I actually, I was on a panel at Social Media Marketing World with someone from Microsoft, and I was like, so, have you tried Meerkat or Periscope yet? And he's like, no. Because he's got a Windows phone, so it's like, eh. But I think Periscope's got a better UI. It looks more polished, and Meerkat is a little bit more like, you could tell it was built like from the ground up by, you know, people that aren't, I mean, I'm sure they're developers and stuff, but aren't like, you know, top level folks like Twitter has access to for sure. Occasionally in Meerkat, you'll have comments that like cut off, so you can't quite see the whole comment. So a lot of people have to Meerkat on one phone and read their Twitter handle or their Twitter feed on the other. When you post in Meerkat, it does @mention that person and put that info in there too. So if you do have another phone, you can keep on top of the comments too. So I don't know. So I mean, basically, they're kind of the same thing in the end. I think they do have like the commenting and the live feedback and stuff is really what sets them apart. I mean, we've had Ustream and Google Hangouts for years, but because they don't have that option to say, hey, you know, what's that? Like Carlos Gil from LinkedIn, he just started at LinkedIn last week. So he Meerkats when he's walking to work from his apartment, and people will be like, you know, hey, what was that restaurant behind you? Or, you know, watch out, don't get hit by a bus, right? So I think that live commenting and live interaction piece is going to be, you know, what sets it apart. Alrighty? All right, sounds good, thanks. I'm holding Bear.
Awesome, got it.
Oh, well, I was going to say you can use it too.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So while I'm walking, I can just talk. Walking, talking, Google glassing. It's too much. So just as he was talking about Meerkat, I was like, okay, what? Did you see my screen? I thought the Meerkat was a little rodent that was really rude and lived in the in the African jungle. That show even got annoying. Remember when the Meerkat show came on? It was like cool commentating. Yeah, Meerkat Manor. And then they became kind of jerks, right? Like, what? They got factions and gangs and wait, what? What? It was like, this is no fun anymore. Anyway, so we'll take a little bit of break so you can refresh coffee. They have brought in a little bit more coffee. Reminder, the Kind bars, breakfast bars and regular bars got here yesterday, so they're out. And their hashtag is #KindAwesome, right? So kind of awesome, it looks like that, but it's kind of awesome. So you can share their information. So anybody need to take a look at the schedule on what's coming up next? And we'll do that. All right, let's get the, I'm gonna unplug you, Eric.